So today I'm making a tier list of the vehicles and ships which were released to Star Citizen in 2023. There is total of 20 of them, and of course I will have my own bias in this game. So if you disagree with me, sure, we all have our preferences, and I will try to give short explanations why I put them where. Starting off with the RSI Scorpius Antares. Now this will go straight into the C tier. That is because Antares does not boast a turret, which the original Scorpius has. But it does have a co-pilot seat, and the co-pilot controls the quantum jammer alongside with the EMP. This is somewhat good and somewhat bad, as the co-pilot doesn't have any direct damage weapons, but can solely focus on the EMP, although we could just put the EMP and the quantum jammer at the hands of the pilot, and perhaps make other ways or have other ways to balance the ship, like reducing its weapon size. It's a great idea, but it definitely needs some rework. So next up we have the Fury. The Fury MX, if I'm correct. This is the rocket platform of the Furies, the snobs. They don't have quantum drives, and this one doesn't even have laser repeaters. It's pretty much a sentry, or a flying sentry. It just homes in with rockets, fires them at the targets, and well, if you get too close, the ship can't really fight back. And that's why it's going into the C tier. On the other hand, if you do have a fleet of these ships, these rocket platforms, then we might have a discussion how great they may actually be, as they are filled with 20 rockets in total, some of them size 1s, some of them size 2s. An interesting twist, but unfortunately not an effective weapon all around. Still, it's going into C tier because has some use, at least at the moment. Although I wouldn't really pick this over other snobs or other variants of this ship. So we also have the Cutter Scout. Now, cutters go to the B tier, usually for me. Just because they are this somewhat starting ship, even though this scout variant or the scouting really isn't ready, it is still a durable ship, it is a semi-starter ship, and because it's such a beefy boy, yet it doesn't have too much firepower, just for that extra amount of health, that fuel, that capability of being home away from home for all of the cutter ships, I'm gonna have to put it into B tier. Now, the scouting role really isn't finished, so perhaps it should go into the C tier or D tier as it is not yet ready. But since the cutter ships are all kinda homes away from home, with having a twist on them, I don't see this as too much of a problem, like with any other cutters. Okay, so next up we have the X1 Force, I believe. This is the X1 combat variant, and I'm not entirely sure where I want to put this. I'm 90% sure it's gonna get balanced because I believe the X1 is the only one that is really ready, and the velocity and force variant of the X1 still will need to have some polish to them. But at the moment, since this one has a shield compared to many other hover bikes, I will have to put it in a B tier, or perhaps I should put it in a C tier because there isn't really a reason for you to pick up a hover bike and just use it for combat scenarios. You could just use your ship and perform so much better. But I guess it's slightly above other hover bikes, so perhaps it deserves a B tier for that same reason, for having a shield. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it in B tier at the moment. But this may change. So next up we have the Vulture. Whew. Usually I put the single trick ponies, or would put the single trick ponies into the C tier. But this one just does it so well. Okay, fine. It can salvage. It can hull scrape, it can store cargo, it can create multi-tools and other attachments. It does have two size 2 laser repeaters, And you or that and you probably should be using this with a extra crew member. But since this ship is performing really well with its single trick, I think it deserves a B tier at least. Fine, yeah, you can do cargo, you can actually fight back slightly, but its main focus, of course, is to pick up salvage, pick up the scrapes, and disintegrate the ships. And since it's really performing that well for a single person operated vehicle compared to Reclaimer, I think it deserves a B tier. It's, I mean, it's only one of the two salvage ships that we have, and the salvage just got updated, so perhaps I'm just flying that tailwind, and that's why I'm putting it in the B tier. Next up, we have the Shantok Yay. Whew. This one is a doozy. It's an interesting twist. It's a medium fighter, an alien medium fighter nonetheless. It's supposed to be highly maneuverable to its brother, the light fighter Cartual, but it doesn't boast the same strengths or similar strengths that the Cartual boasts. Cartual is this really maneuverable ship. Shantok Yei, on the other hand, falls really into the same bracket as other medium fighters. Given it does have one of the best size 3 laser repeaters. I think these are actually the best size 3 laser repeaters in the game. And it's the alien laser repeaters. It does have a size 2 shield, which the other medium fighters usually do not have. But it's also very fragile for a medium fighter. And it's got a lot of these wing parts which you can shoot off, although all of your weapons are attached to the hull of the ship. At the moment, it's not yet ready, as you can lose wings and the ship won't really lose that much control. And it's not that remarkable when we compare to other medium fighters. It shares roughly the same stats, same maneuverabilities, although it is fast, I'll give it that. Since it is not ready, I'm not sure it would be fair for me to put it anywhere. I've tested it, I've tried it. If I would compare it to other medium fighters, I probably would put it in a C tier. But let's leave it at the moment in the end and see if I change my mind. Or perhaps I will just leave it here because I'm not sure I can pop it anywhere. So next up we have the racing variant of the Mirai Fury. This one should be the LX. This one doesn't have any weapons and is really maneuverable. None of the Furies have quantum drive. And if I remember correctly, this one didn't have the shield as well. Let me check real quick. Mirai Fury. Mirai Fury LX. Oh, it does have a shield. But still, an interesting twist on a Fury. Let's do a rough stat comparison real quick as well. This Mirai Fury and Fury XL LX. Some health differences. Maneuverability, of course. It's not too much maneuverable, but it's still interesting. I've flown it once, only once, so I'm not really 100% sure I have the perfect skill set for racing. But it did feel really nice, as Furies do, as they're really flexible. So if I would be using this for racing, I actually think it would be going into the A tier. Because the Furies maneuver so well, they are so small, they're just basically flying seats. And because of that, I think they're one of the best racers. Not to say that they are the best, because I think there was a Merlin or something which was better, but they are just so great when it comes to control, maneuvering, flying, and everything. And I kind of don't want to put it there because it's a one-trick ship once again. But if you take a look at the racing whole, I think it's one of the better ones for the racing. And because of that, if you're gonna only do racing, I believe it's one of the best racers. You can't really use it for anything else. It's just for flying around racing. It doesn't have a quantum drive. So, it didn't have quantum drive, right? Of course it doesn't. It's a Fury. Okay, so next up we have the Hull C. Whew. Now this is also pretty much a one-trick pony. Does have a lot of weapons though, or sorry, a lot of turrets, and it can carry over 5,000 units of cargo. And this is not a trading ship, but an hauling ship. And this hauling is a new gameplay loop. Your ship can somewhat easily be actually stolen, and it's a risky business. If your investment wouldn't be that high, I probably would put it into the higher tiers. Not sure where I would B or C. I think I'm going to leave it at B at the moment because you can make pretty big bucks with this, and it's a cool looking ship. It's a flying dong, it's a huge ship. But if you extend it out, it's going to be even bigger. And you can make a lot of money with this, but your own investment needs to be really high. And if the game doesn't work against you, you can actually make some money with this. But there is a significant risk involved. So I'm going to leave it at the B tier at the moment. Because if you could do trading without getting stolen, without game issues, perhaps it would be one of the best haulers. But at the moment, there is significant risk to using this ship, and I wouldn't put it above B tier at the moment. It is a good trader, not trader, hauler, just for the amount of cargo it can carry. But let's leave it at that. So next up, we have I think this was the RSI Lynx. It's kind of like a infantry support vehicle, but this one is somehow luxurious, fancy, and a bit more maneuverable than its counterpart. I can't remember its name. One was Lynx, and what was the other? Don't recall it at the moment. So this is just a fancy turreted ground vehicle. It does have only one door, and it's not too special, I would say. It's more on the luxurious side. Although it does boast a weapon, it's still a ground vehicle. It will bounce off of everything, or at least usually seems to. But it's a pretty good ship, pretty good vehicle when it comes to the ground vehicles which have wheels. So, or ground vehicles which touch the ground, because the hover bikes, yeah, they're gonna move faster. They're gonna be more agile. This one, yes, it does have, I believe it was 2 size 2 laser repeaters, which you can activate for self-defense, but it's not too unique, it's nothing too special, so it's going to be in the C tier for me. Oh, mama. A1 the Bomber. This is going to go straight to S tier, and this is for 2 reasons. Let's see if we can get an A1. It was a Crusader, right? First of all, 10 of the bombs. These are very powerful bombs. Secondly, the turret is actually weapons which the C1 does not have and cannot change. But the A1 has a turret here, and the pilot also has size 3s. So this is a pretty capable offensive vehicle. Plus, adding bombs to the mix just makes it painful. You can be, with a extra crew member, you can be powerful in the air and against the ground targets. That's why. That's why it's going into the A tier. I don't think there's going to be any smaller bombers than this. And it's just fully offensive ship. Now, it may not be the best, but it's definitely an interesting piece, and it cannot carry cargo. Can it carry cargo? Perhaps a couple of slots. Crew size. What's the cargo? I don't think the ship carries any cargo. It's just an offensive ship, but it is very unique in its offensiveness. The bombs, the weapons, everything. I've ruined a couple of jump downs purely with this ship, and I love it to the core. You can also take out some of these harder missions, and the bomb covers a pretty big area of 100 meters radius, I believe. Although replacing bombs will eventually cost you quite a bit, so it's an expensive one. Okay, so the X1. Typical hover bike with a laser repeater. No, I think it had a laser cannon. It's not very unique compared to other hover bikes. it doesn't have a shield compared to the Force, which we have in B tier at the moment. But I think this is the default variant, which is considered somewhat ready. It may not get tweaked a bit more, but I believe it is in its best state or most stable state, and it will remain there for a long while. It's not too much more unique from other hover bikes, and that's why it's going into the C tier. If it would bring to the table something really, I believe it's faster, one of the faster hover bikes. But if it would bring something unique, perhaps I would like it. Okay, fine, its looks are cool, I agree with you there, and perhaps that is the reason it should go up. Or perhaps not. So next up, we have the Argo SRV, which is the towing ship. I'm not sure where to put this. It's just a single trick pony, but the trick is actually really, really good. It doesn't have any weapons, but it can pull ships behind him. And I'm not sure if they have fixed it at the moment, but if you took the salvaging missions, you could just pull the ships away and get that mission done by removing the ship from the area. And that was good enough. I'm pretty sure it will have missions, and it will be one of the coolest utility ships out there. I did try to use this ship to repair my broken ships, take them to orbital stations and those repair pads, trying to get them repaired there. But that only worked 1 out of 3 times I did try to use it. This is a pretty promising, interesting utility ship, and perhaps its gameplay loop or the gameplay loops they intend to use for this are going to be really interesting. But since it's just a one-trick pony, it's an absolute one-trick pony with nothing else it can do. Fine, it can transport you from point A to point B, but that's it. It doesn't have any capabilities. Kinda like the Fury LX, but the LX has its gameplay loop at the moment, and since it's really small, really maneuverable, it will remain in the A tier for me at the moment. Next up, we have the Storm AA. Actually, I like this. I like the way it feels, I like the way it drives, I like the rocket barrage, and the variant to shoot 8 rockets at a time. But unfortunately, it doesn't go greater than the B tier for me. It's a cool ship. Vehicle. It's an anti-air vehicle. You can actually force against some ground targets, and it's really awesome when you actually check this vehicle shooting rockets. But it's not that useful, it's not that unique, and it's just a ground vehicle which is meant to counter anti-air or perhaps some long-distance fighting if it can spot the targets. Not even sure it should be in the B tier, but somehow I liked it more than the regular Storm, which I feel is underpowered. So I put it to the B tier. Next up, we have the C1 Spirit. One of the better ships here. It's a direct competitor to the Misk Freelancer, Drake Cutlass Black, perhaps even Hull A. Only thing that keeps this ship from going into the A tier for me is that we cannot swap its turret out with a laser repeating turret. It's stuck with a tractor beam turret. If you could swap that out, I would say this is one of the best releases of the year. But that doesn't mean it's any less powerful, because for a single person, you don't really need it. If it's gonna be your Misk Freelancer or Drake Cutlass Black alternative, for a single person, I think it's great. All the weapons are at the disposal of your fingertips, and you can just go ahead with this ship. If you have flown it, you probably love it, you like it, it's a pretty cool vehicle. But it's gonna remain in the A tier unless we can swap the turrets. If you could swap the turrets, like we could give it the same turret that the A1 has, it would be standing right next to it on the S tier. So, the regular Storm. Unfortunately, it is somewhat underwhelming. It does have a laser repeater. It is a single person controlled tank compared to the Nova, which can have, I believe, Nova could have 4 people controlling it. And the Storm does feel more like a tank suit, so Perhaps instead of 4 players in a Nova, you could have 4 of these, which could be a fun alternative. But it's not that special, the laser repeater is not that strong, and the tank really doesn't seem to be that much more maneuverable, or it doesn't seem to have any significant aspect which would give me a reason to prefer this over Nova. Perhaps if Nova was slower and this was a wee bit faster, it could be a fun tank to have. But for now, I'm gonna leave it here. Oh god, I'm sick. Next up, we have the Cutter Rambler. This is supposed to be the exploration variant of Cutter. Now, this is not ready, it does not have more fuel, it shares pretty much the same stats with the regular Cutter. It does have less cargo space, and it's meant to be like this a bit more senior variant of the Cutter, which perhaps more veteran players would prefer. And it's of course meant to be like home away from home. Since it's a Cutter, it's still going into the B tier. It's a beefy boy, and perhaps when it's ready, and actually will get a lot more fuel, its accommodations area is bigger. But perhaps when it will get more fuel, more use for, let's say, Pyro, it will go up in its value and perhaps jump onto the A tier. But for me, for now, it will remain in the B tier. So next up we have the starter ship, Gatak Silent. Ooh. My honest answer? It's gonna be C or D for me. I mean, it's a cool looking starter ship. But it's just so much different, so much bigger. Didn't have too much more health, right? Gatak Silent, let's check it real quick. Where's Gatak? No, did I miss Gatak somewhere? Ah, Gatak. Yeah, it doesn't have too much more health. I would definitely take a Cutter over this. It's not too much more maneuverable. Fine, it does have 3 size 3s. That is saving craze and 2 size 1 shields. But it's just a big fat flying star. That's what it is. Because it is homey and roomy, I think that's great. But for a starter ship, for its role, I don't think it's a great one. I would rather prefer a Cutter, Aegis Titan Avenger. Heck, I'll take Aurora over this. This was... Perhaps if it would have twice the health it has right now, it actually would be a durable and not that punishing starter ship. But I wouldn't take it at the moment the way it is. Okay, so next up, the really controversial F8C Lightning. I'm not actually sure where to put this. Single person controlling, I believe it was 4 size 2s and 4 size 3s, while being extremely fast and boasting decent survivability for, actually I think it was even a good survivability for a heavy fighter. You can lose a lot of weapons if you lose wings. It's an interesting ship, and one of the few that I actually like the stock loadout for. But I'm not sure I like it enough to put it in the A tier. Because, I mean, if I would put a heavy fighter into the A tier, it probably would be the Hoplite. Or perhaps even... No, I think it would. Actually, I'm not sure. Would it be an A tier or B tier? This is a really hard one for me. I think it would go into the B tier at the moment. I mean, if you're gonna dogfight without any jousting, this ship probably would lose. But if you're gonna do jousting, if you're gonna go against bigger ships, it's a really good ship actually. So it's right in the middle there. I'm very uncertain where to put this because I truly love it. But I'm not sure it's the best, the most perfect vehicle ship to use. So I'm just going to leave it here at the moment. Here we have the Misk Mirai Fury, the Snob. And actually, I'm in the same dilemma with this one. It's a pretty good snob, but it's a snob, it's fragile, it will get beat up. Yeah, I think that's why it's going into B tier. It's snob, it's cool, it's one of the better snobs, but as far as snobs go, it's still a snob. And it will remain in the B tier, and it yeah, the worst thing I've seen happen. There was a guy fighting against, I believe it was Gladius with this. Gladius had ballistic weapons and it just broke Mirai Fury before the first jousting had ended. Like Mirai Fury was out before Gladius could stop firing. It's a cool ship, but I will leave it there at the moment. Okay, so the last two. Whew. We have here the Chantokier, which is a big product of Cartoal, but this ship is not close to being finished at all. It is mediocre when it comes to comparison to other medium fighters. Perhaps it's even a bit on the lighter side, but it does have the best size 3 laser repeaters. It's not yet ready. This will definitely get polished, but in the current state, I don't think it's above C tier. And that is because I would actually take other medium fighters like F7C, ships like that. Those boast more firepower with the same maneuverability and better health. This one has these far reaching out wings which can be shot off with a small amount of health. Although it does have size 2 shield and is relatively fast, I don't think I would consider this too much more significant from other medium fighters, so it's going to remain here. As for the racing variant, this definitely isn't ready at the moment, and I'm going to leave it here just next to it, and this will probably jump up, but at the moment it's same as this, same as the white one, with just a bit more expensive price tag, that's it. So this was my opinion of the best ships released in 2023. I somewhat might want to move some of these ships upwards. Actually, I might even move this to A tier. It's a pretty good one. But it depends on the scenario. I like its weapons. I like that you have so many small needles you can fire at the same time. So perhaps, yeah, it belongs into the A tier. But it definitely was an interesting set of releases we got this year. I believe there were quite a few unique releases. Like we got the Fury series, 3 ships from the Fury series. We got 2 ships from the Spirit series. The unique one we got was the FHC at the moment. Then we got 2 releases from the Cutter series. We got 3 from the X1 and 2 of the Storms. But we also got the special ships like the Vulture, the Hull C, and of course the Argo SRV. Ah, yeah, and of course the variant of Scorpius, which was already released as a turreted ship for heavy fighter for two players. It's been an interesting year, and I'm not sure I placed them all correctly, even to my liking, because I think the spirits are on point at the moment, and the cutters as well, along with the Vulture and Hull C and the Fury. The rest, I mean, you have to have a pretty strong argument. And perhaps some of the systems that are broken in the game will actually rocket this boy up a bit. For now, this was my tier list, and some of these ships' vehicles were actually really, really interesting. Did I fly every one of these vehicles? I actually did not get to fly this one, as I wasn't really interested in this. Compared to the stats, I saw this and this, the force and velocity share pretty much the same things. There's just few minor differences. And I also didn't fly. Where is it? I flew most of them. Where is it? I can't fly. I can't find it at the moment. Ah, this one, yeah. Antares. This one I just checked, I confirmed, and was disappointed like all the rest. If this would have been different, it probably would be an A-tier ship, Antares, and I probably would own it. But at the moment, it's going to remain in the C tier, and perhaps this will get some love as well. Anyway, don't forget to like, subscribe, and thanks for watching. And if you're watching it on New Year's, Happy New Year!